Hey everyone, okay, so first and foremost, before I continue on, I just wanted to apologize for the fact that this video is a day late. I know some of you have already asked me like, where's your video? And I'm like, I am so sorry. I had a doctor's appointment yesterday, and it was such a waste of time because I went and it was at the time where I usually do my videos because I'll like come home and then I'll do it and then I gotta do whatever else. And my appointment was at a time that I do this. And so I went and then like we were waiting there for an hour and a half and then I wasn't even able to go and like have my appointment. So that was just a huge waste of time. Yeah, it was just a checkup. It was nothing serious. And what's it called? Now back to just my review. This episode was amazing. First of all, I love all of these episodes. I'm loving how the writers are, writing these episodes for us, and it has strayed quite a bit from the books, but again, I love it. I am absolutely loving it. It's just amazing because it's like we have our characters and then we have them going through different things, so it's like we're getting more of a story, but it's different and it's the same, but I don't know, it's just, I'm loving it so much. And so this episode with the alternate universe, it was called like A World Inverted or something, and it was just amazing and fabulous. Oh my goodness! With season 2. I completely forgot to mention this because they told us a few days ago. Oh my god, you guys, season 2. I was so excited when they announced this. Oh my goodness. I was like driving to school and then I got to school and I checked my phone before I went to class and then I saw something on Instagram and they're like, we have an announcement. I'm like, oh my god, is this what I think it is? And it was just fabulous and amazing. And so I'm so excited. And just, yeah. Okay, so before I continue on, I thought that I would do a kind of reaction for the sneak peeks that they released. I think there's only one that they released so far. There's tape on my thing. I think there's only one sneak peek out. Usually there's like 2 by this point, but I think there's only 1. And so I reacted to the ones last week and some of you liked it, so I thought I would do it again. Okay, so this is Shadowhunters 1X10 sneak peek. Fighting circle members. Ooh. Okay, so here we go. Renwick!
This doesn't make any sense. There are 1,000.
Whoa, wait a minute. Renwick! That's the... Oh, okay. No.
1,000 demons for last name.
That's what he wants.
Oh my god, that's Michael! Oh my god! Oh my god. I keep pausing it. This is gonna be really annoying for me to actually, like, edit this later. Oh my god, I can't. Oh god, okay.
Wants to draw us in. Force Clary to use the cup.
There's the circle members. Oh my god, look at Michael. Oh, there's Clary. Oh, okay.
Watch your back!
Go, Clary, go! Ah, that sound of the neck.
I forgot how much fun this was.
Oh my god! Okay, I'm just freaking out because on Tuesday, when the show actually premiered, I, finished watching the episode and then I went back to read, because I was confused and I didn't remember everything with like Chase and Valentine and Steven and Michael. I forgot all that. So, or I didn't forget it, but I forgot like exactly what happened. So I wanted to reread cause I know that they said something at the end of the book. And so I went back and reread like 100 pages, just to figure that out. And I have something marked here just because I wanted to talk about it later. But Renwick's, that is the insane asylum that in the book they go to at the end of the book, and that's where Valentine is hiding, and that's where Valentine is hiding Claire's Jocelyn, and it looks like they're keeping that in the show, and I'm so excited. I mean, of course, a little bit differently because Michael's there. Oh my god, that's not Michael. That's Valentine. I'm gonna get into that later. I just have so many theories. I have so many theories. My dog is going crazy. I'm gonna get to that in the end because that happened at the very end. Okay, so let me just get into I have my notes as per usual. And so we start off, and Meliorn and Clary and Jace, I was gonna say Michael, they are in the forest and they're like outside of Fairland, Fairy World, I forgot what they call it. But they're out there. Can I just say that Jade is doing a really good job with Meliorn? I absolutely am loving his character. I mean, we all know that Meliorn, well, not necessary, well, yeah, Meliorn, but like fairies are really sketch. And so I don't completely trust him just because of that, just because he's a full-on fairy. But Jade is like a really attractive guy, and him as Meliorn, I'm really enjoying it, just like Harry is really attractive, and him as Magnus is like, I'm really enjoying that too. And so I really like looking at him. So this is something that wasn't in the book. So this alternate universe, this is something completely new that the writers thought up. My God, I can't speak today. And so I really enjoyed this plot twist kind of thing. Everything, all the changes that they're making, they're like so flawless, and they're just going with the story so well, and I'm enjoying it all so much. And so they get to this like thing that the trees like made up for the portal, and Meliorn starts doing his thing, and every single time him, or especially Magnus, because Magnus does his flourish, as they say later, I always think of The Last Airbender. I'm like, are you going to airbend? What are you gonna do? I think of that every time. Okay, so then after that is the Luke and Simon scene, and oh, this is when they're inside of the Jade Wolf, and so Luke is talking to Alaric. I read that as Alaric. I think they said that. Oh, in the Vampire Diaries, they called him Alaric. Pretty sure. But in here, they call him Alaric. Anyways, and so they're talking, and all of a sudden, all the wolves, like, perk up. They're like, there's something dead outside. And so Simon walks in, and he's just Alberto. It's just so wonderful. I say it every time, but I'm just loving him so much as Simon. And so, Alaric goes up to Simon, and Simon's like, hey, what's up, dude, or whatever. He's like, oh, because of my relationship with Luke. And he's like, and I just, oh, Simon. So, they show Luke looking back at him. He's like smiling. And so he comes in, and they have their little discussion, and how Raphael kicked him out because he got irritated with him. That's absolutely hilarious. And when he sat down, it was so funny because they were talking, and he said something about Nerferatu, and I'm just like, that's perfection. And it was so fun. All of Alberto, I can't get enough of him. So when the wolves are like growling at him, and Simon just like, that was so funny. Okay, so then we finally, Clary goes through the portal, and we're in this alternate universe. And it's like, the first thing I noticed was just how much brighter it was, because the Shadow World, or how they're filming the Shadow World, it's very dark. I mean, there's lights and stuff everywhere, but, it's very dark. They're all wearing black. It's like not the most brightly lit rooms inside the Institute. When they go out, it's usually at night, so it's dark. But in this alternate universe, it's very bright. They're back in Clary's and Jocelyn's apartment, or loft, or whatever it was, and it's just, there's light streaming in, and Clary is like wearing a very bright shirt, and it's just so much brighter and so much lighter. And so then she's like walking in there, she freaks out, or she doesn't freak out, but she like becomes Clary, the other Clary. And then Valentine walks in, and so she freaks out with the knife. I'm like, whoa, 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 that's your dad in a good way. So maybe don't do that. It was so weird. So weird seeing Valentine in like a good fatherly way, because we all know what he did to his sons, plural. And so it was just weird, not like weird in a bad way, but like weird from the perspective of a book reader after reading everything that he's done, and just seeing him like super happy and like, oh, you gotta take me to one of your cosplay things. And oh my gosh, it was so crazy. And then Jocelyn walks in, and so Clary gives her a big old bear hug, and I'm like, oh, your mom. And then also it was really weird because I just finished reading the Shadowhunter Academy, and I still need to do my reviews on those. So please, probably in the next 2 weeks. I promise, because I have spring break in like the following week. And so I gotta do those still, because I gotta talk about it. And I'm like halfway done with Lady Midnight. I'm like, I don't know where it is. Oh, it's right there. But I'm like halfway done with it, and it's amazing. And I'm like going off in a total different tangent. What was I talking about? Jocelyn. And so it was really funny hearing her call Valentine Val. And like, I remember reading that, and everybody was calling him Val. And I'm like, that's so weird. It was crazy because Valentine, as we know, is just so evil. And so it was crazy hearing people talk to him as of, hey, buddy, oh, pal, best friend, like Val. It was weird. Oh my goodness. And then the commercial. I was laughing so hard with this commercial. Jocelyn was like, oh, you need to watch this. It's so bad, it's good. And so we start off with Haj, and he's like, oh yeah, then now I'm a dojo, or I own my own dojo, or whatever he said. And he's like, he kicks towards the screen, and it was so cheesy. And it reminded me of Parks and Rec, where Andy is like doing his thing, and then he starts attacking the camera. It just reminded me of that. And so the next one we have is Luke, and I thought this was really, really clever of the writers. I was so impressed when they did he's like, oh yeah, I didn't think that the police force was working for me, so now I'm an owner of a rare bookstore. And I'm just like, I see what you did there, because as we know, he's a owner of a bookstore in the books. And so I thought that was a nice like reference for that. And then so he's like, and now I'm an owner of a bookstore, and just it was so cheesy. And Magnus comes out, and he looks like Harry. He doesn't look like Magnus. He looks like Harry usually does. And it was just so funny because he had his hair to one side. He was slicked back, had like a thing on. It was with the collar. It was just hilarious. And he's like, hello, and I'm Magnus Bane, and come to me. And then he just, it was so cheesy. I loved it. So then right after that, we come back to the real world that's filled with pain and misery. And we see that Lydia is arresting Izzy. And so Lydia goes to Alec, and she's like, dude, or she doesn't say dude, because that's inappropriate for an envoy. And so she's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, what are you talking about? And so he goes to Izzy, and as soon as she says her name, I'm like, no, don't do what I think you're about to do. And then she does it. I'm like, dang it. This still does not make me dislike Lydia. It still does not. I'm still holding out that Lydia is a good character. I know she's a good character as of this point. And so I'm still holding out that she is just awesome and amazing, because I just feel that she is still. And what's it called? Even later, when she's taught, they do something later. She says something like, I don't make the rules, I simply follow it, because I forgot what she says, but she basically makes her case that she doesn't want to arrest Izzy, that she has orders again. And so even later when she's like beating up that punching bag, and Alec is like, I understand about the orders about anyone, and he does. And so I still feel bad for her, because she has to do all this stuff where everybody's hating her, and she doesn't necessarily want to do it. And so it's just kind of sad. And so then the next scene is the alternate universe. And this was my favorite. Yes, this was my favorite scene in the alternate universe of all of the scenes. And it was just, okay, I almost wanted to cry, because Clary, she's like in Java Jace. Can we just discuss Java Jace for a minute? That is the funniest thing. Okay, because Java Jones, Java Jace. That was just so clever, and just, it was amazing. Can you imagine Jace as a barista? Okay, and so Simon, he comes up there and he's like, hey, and she's like, get out of the light. He's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, Clary, you're in an alternate universe. Remember this. And so he takes, it's getting hot, and he takes Lydia. He takes Clary. Goodness, I can't speak. He takes her to Izzy and Alec. And Izzy and Simon, but Izzy especially, were my favorite parts of this episode. Alternate universe Izzy. She was, I loved her. She was with her glasses, with her braid, with like no makeup on, with her Star Wars shirt. I'm like, my goodness, me. Because I put on makeup for my videos. I don't look like this on the regular. I go to school and I look like I just woke up, because that's usually what has happened. Izzy totally reminded me of like, not completely, but like a Felicity, but more dorky, you know, from Arrow. And it was great. And now she was talking, she's like, is that new? And then like, just how she was talking, it was adorable. And Alec, oh my God, he was fantastic. Alternate universe Alec was amazing. He was so sassy, and he was obviously out, and he was just very, just like, he was so sassy. Like I said, he's like, and the theme is amazing. And I'm like, I love you. And then with his like polo shirt and his bracelets, and the way he looked at Claire, he's like, I don't know how he looked at her, but it was so great. I have that GIF saved. That is a new reaction GIF. And yes, I say GIF. I know the proper pronunciation is GIF technically, but I say GIF, Team GIF. And then it was really cute when Simon and Izzy were sitting next to each other, and they were like listening to whatever they were listening to on their phones. And Izzy like looks up at him and smiles, and you could see Alec kind of on the side like looking at them smiling too. And I'm just like, That's so nice. Okay, and then back to Jay. So we go, okay, and then this, I didn't notice this until I saw it in a GIF later, but the whole like clap and snap thing that Jason and Simon do. Do you remember, there was a video a long time ago, of Dom and Alberto, and they were doing that Bring on the Runes video, and then they did that. And so I'm like super curious as to if that was like a Domberto thing, or if that was a Simon and Jace thing that they did in the show that they transferred into their real lives. And I don't know, but it was just really cute, and I noticed it as soon as they did it. They did it twice throughout throughout the episode. They did it once like in the background where Izzy and Clary were talking, and they were like, Simon was getting coffee, and then once back in the party, and it was just wonderful. So then we have like a little miniature Clay scene, and then they're like making out, and Clary is like getting out of it. I'm like, no, snap out of it. And so then right after that, she runs away, and what's it called? So we're back to the real world, and so Fisk. This is the scene with Fisk. And I kind of forgot about this guy, actually. And so Simon and Luke are walking together, and here comes good old Fisk. And so Simon attacks him. And there's a bee. Go away. But yeah, as soon as I saw that Fisk was in a chair, like tied up, and Simon was like looking super sketch and creepy, I like automatically knew that this was a setup, and this was a way for them to get Fisk off of Luke's butt. And so I thoroughly enjoyed that. So my mom's like, what's happening? Is he evil? I'm like, no, he's not evil. And it was just so funny because Simon is such a dork. And so it was hilarious seeing him with like that dark lighting, and how he's like, yeah, that I'm the killer. I don't know what he was saying, but it was so funny. And he's like, yeah, so it only hurts a little bit. And then later on he said he quoted the Hulk, and I'm like, you're such a dork, Simon. And he's like, you don't want to see me when I'm angry. You won't like me when I'm angry. And I'm like, okay, because you're the only person that's ever seen the Avengers or Hulk or something like that. And so that was absolutely fabulous. He was wonderful. And then so he's about to attack him, and then Luke comes to the rescue, and he shoots Simon like a bunch of times. He's like, duh, 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 and he falls to the ground. I'm like, good job. That was very good. And so the later on scene after that, when they're in like the morgue thing, and Simon pops out of that body bag, so cute. Like you never think you can see somebody pop out of a body bag really cute, but see, he did it. So he like comes out, he's like, how did I do? And again with the blue shirt, I'm like, oh, you're just And so he's like, so Mushu pork for life? All right, so then we get back to the alternate universe, and okay, this is when Clary is talking to Magnus, and Magnus is like a tarot card reader, and it was the best. I mean, you guys saw my reaction last week when I was watching that scene, and it was so funny watching it again because the cats come out of nowhere, and it's Chairman Meow, and she's like, you don't have cats? And he's like, I have two. And it's Chairman Meow and Church. And I'm just like, I freaked out so much because there was a embroidered pillow next to Church that said Church, and I'm just like, this is wonderful. I really need these cats to be in the real world. Like, they need to be in the real world, please. I want there to just like, I don't even care how they bring them into the show. Just have them walking around and Clary be like, well, I didn't know we had a cat. And like, we do now. I don't even care. Just bring the cats into the real world. I thought it was kind of funny when Clary was trying to convince Magnus that she was from a different reality. And so she drew those demons. I'm like, you drew those really fast. And he shows her I think it was a gray book. I want to say it was a gray book, and so he's drinking the thing, and he like to get his magic back. I thought that was wonderful. And so, oh yeah, and so Clary was adorable in this entire episode. And so Magnus, he's like trying to do something, and she's like, well, usually you have a little bit more flourish to it. And he's like, I do not look like that. And she's like, well, I love that scene. So I'm guessing after this episode, there's going to be no more necklace because they already used it. And then Magnus destroyed the portal later on in the episode. And so, yeah, there's no more necklace. Okay, so then we were switching back from alternate universe to reality. And so we come back to the real world, and Alec and Lydia are talking, and he is like, well, what if I give them the the cup in order to get Izzy off the hook. And Lydia's like, yeah, like, do you have it? And she was all for trying to get Izzy off the hook because she doesn't want her to be, you know, stripped of her runes, obviously. And so the whole time I'm like, oh no, it's not there. And so he goes to that little safety deposit box thing under the thing. It's such a random place for them to have that. But anyways, it wasn't there. And so he gets up, he's like, Jace. I'm like, oh no, you're gonna do something bad, aren't you? And then we come back to the alternate universe, and it's a Clary and Izzy scene, and I love that scene. I loved Izzy so much in this alternate universe. And so we have Izzy, and she has her black eye, and so she says immediately, she's like, oh, kickboxing, which completely makes sense because Izzy is still like awesome, it can kick butt. And so I thought it was funny how she said it. She's like, oh, today what's her face decides to perfect her roundhouse kick. I thought that was really funny. But she was talking about, she's like, that I won't be able to go to the party, and Alec worked so hard. I'm like, oh, even in this universe she's still like really worried about her brother, and she's concerned, and it's just feelings. Okay, and then we actually get to the party, and it looks really cool. It's in like the main area of the institute, and it looked really cool. I'm like, that is a party I would like to attend. And Jace comes, and he looks super spiffy with his hair to one side, and he was wearing blue, and I'm just like, they're trying to kill me with all these super attractive men wearing blue. Like, are you kidding me? It was funny because then Valentine comes to talk to him, and so he's like, a pleasure to thank you. Yeah, and so he gets all nervous when he talks to him. I thought that was cute. In this alternate universe, Jace was very, he was a little bit more, he's a lot more sensitive and emotional in this one, and I thought that was just, yeah, feelings. Okay, so then right after that, we come back to the real world. It's just like whiplash coming back to the real world. And Alec is gonna do that thing with his Parabatai ruined, and to try and like get Jace or something. And so I was just talking to him. He's like, talking to him, and Alec's like, Jace is dead to me. And I'm like, how dare you, sir? He is not dead to you. I feel like the writers are making us suffer so much with these two right now, and just to make us like that, because there's gonna be like a serious payoff, just like with Malik. They're gonna get together and it's gonna be beautiful. But I feel like that's the same thing with Jace and Alec right now. Like, they're fighting right now, but then they're gonna like, I really want like a really emotional scene between the two of them to be like, I'm so sorry. No, I am sorry. Like, I still love you. Like, I want that. I need that to happen. So he's like picking Izzy over Jace, and he's like, no, I have to do this for Izzy. And oh god, there's screams. Like, we got it in the trailer last week, but it was like, and it was worse in the trailer almost because of how it was cut. But Jace and Alec are screaming each other's names, and I'm just like, oh my god, you guys are hurting me in my feels right now. He's like, yeah, I can see him. And then Jace like falls, and he's like, Alec, and I'm like, ah. Okay, so then we get to the very first GIFs that everybody made. These were of the Malik scenes at the party, which were absolutely hilarious. And so Clary is like distracted by Jace. I mean, why wouldn't she be? And so Magnus is trying to get into the party, and he's like, no, dude, I'm on the list. And Raj, speaking of Raj, like, especially when he was in the real world, when he was like, oh, we all know she's sleeping with him. I'm like, hey, you know what, Raj? Don't be jealous, all right? You're probably just jealous. I don't like you. Don't slut shame. Rude. Anyways, and so Magnus is up there looking very not Magnus-y, and Alec comes up and he's like, who's this? And he like looks him up and down, and Magnus is like, I don't know what to do. And so he's like, I'll be responsible for this one. So they walk in, and he gives him a drink, and he's like, to us. And he's like, thank you, but I gotta go. And he's like, oh, playing hard to get. I love a challenge. And I'm like, direct parallel from the real world. It was amazing. I just want to personally thank each and every one of the writers for putting that in there, because that was amazing. Alright, so then we get the Clary and Simon scene, and Clary is still dancing with Jason. Simon's like, can I steal your lady? And he's like, sure. And then I love that so much. I love it. And so he's like, I'm gonna ask Izzy to move in with me. And it was so nice. And so Clary's like, Simon, look into my eyes. And he's like, Dracula stare. Nice. And I'm like, that was such a cute moment between the two of them. And then he turns back, and Izzy's just like, I'm like, I'm doing that. That's gonna be my new dance move. I am doing that now. Izzy was so great. I just loved her so much. She was such a dork. I loved it. Okay, and so then Clary kind of forgot about Magnus, so he comes up to her and she's like, who are you? And so he's like, oh shoot, she forgot. And so he's like, showing her the cats, and I just thought that was funny. Like, you don't remember? Look at my cats. And it was just really funny because she's like, what are you doing? And he, so eventually he shows her like something to get her back on track. I don't know what that was exactly. But, and side note, I really liked how Magnus's shirt in this episode, in the alternate universe, it was like a really nice purple with like these medallion things on it. I really liked that. I really enjoyed looking at that. Anyways, and so they go into, I don't know if it was like the basement or something, and Magnus says the biscuit thing again, just like he did in like episode, I don't know, was it 4 or 5 or something? And something about, oh, it will biscuit. I'm like, oh, biscuit. But then we see the shadow from the stairs, and Jace comes like stomping down, and he's like, well, if you didn't want this to work, then you should have just told me. He's like, then don't call me back ever again. I'm like, oh, jealous, emotional Jace. That's something we haven't seen before. I mean, like, in that sense. And so then the demon attacks, oh, because the demon went into the alternate universe. And so it attacks him, and Jace is like, what was that? After Clary like kicks it. And so he takes and poor Jace is like, poor alternate universe Jace is like freaking out, and he's like shaking, sitting there, and Clary's like trying to console him. And then it was really good acting on Dom's part, I felt like, when like real Dom or real Jace came, and he was like shaking, and then he's like, it was just real. I like that. Oh my god. And then it was just absolutely fantastic when the demon attacked them. Not that the demon attacked them, but the couples fighting, they fought like such a team. It was beautiful. And then Jace gets stung. Okay, so then we come back to the real world, and it's that Alec and Izzy scene, and he's like, yeah, that I tried, and I couldn't, you know, do it. And so Izzy is like trying to console him for the fact that he couldn't save her. And I love their relationship so much. So apparently that's what that scene is going to be in the next episode. That's a trial for Izzy. So I'm like super anxious and excited, and just, I really want to see what happens in that scene, because Izzy cannot be hurt at all. Like, no. Anyways, and so they finally find the portal, and Magnus does his thing, and his flourish. And so Clary, Jace is like, think of your father. And so she's like, okay. And so she thinks of her father, and then they go through the portal, and then they end up in Chernobyl. And I was like, what is happening right now? Because it's just, whoa. And then there was that scene when they finally got back to the real world, and Jace had to put on the Iratzi on him, and it was like, it wasn't working. And it reminded me of that scene, because I'm like halfway done with Lady Midnight, when Julian got that arrow in him, and it like wasn't healing. And so like it reminded me of that. So then they're like looking at all the stuff, and there's like all this weird chemistry looking stuff on the table. And so Jace is like, they're building an army or something like that. And so then they hear the rustling in that thing back of the room. And so Jace is like, get behind me. And then he's like limping. I'm like, sweetheart, you're hurt. She can help. Like, you're gonna hurt yourself. And so they open the doors, and it's Michael Wayland. It's Michael Wayland. And wow. I did not see that coming at all. I mean, I knew that Michael Wayland, I mean, I knew that he was like coming technically because of all the pictures and stuff, but I was still really shocked. And then Jace is like, it can't be you. And so Claire's like, what are you talking about? Like, who is that? And he's like, that's my father. And so like when the camera went up on his face, and he was like crying basically, and oh my goodness, Dom with the acting, good job, bro. I am just, and then with the Michael and that was a crazy plot twist of a scene. So this whole thing with Michael Wayland, that is blowing my mind, because we all know who he is. He is who Jace thought his father was, Michael Wayland, and Michael Wayland was part of the Circle. He was a good friend of Valentine's. Okay, before I continue, this is my theory. I know this is a lot of people's theory, but that Michael Wayland is actually Valentine, because they introduced that shape-shifting rune at the beginning with Lydia, and so that would make complete sense. That's because Clary thought of her father. I'm rambling. Clary thought of her father. They got to Chernobyl. Obviously that's where her father has been. So maybe before that, Valentine shapeshifted into Michael Whelan, put himself in that thing, and that's why Valentine isn't there. And so Michael Whelan is actually Valentine, and nobody knows this, and then it'll be revealed at the end, and that is just gonna be crazy. I was saying with that Renwicks, that is straight out of City of Bones. That is what happens at the end of this. They go, Clary and Luke's pack, they go to that asylum, and Clary and Luke go in there, and then Clary, she sees Jace, and then he's like, oh, spiffy and everything in the book, and then he's like, oh yeah, my father, and it's like super creepy. And so, I mean, it looks like they're gonna do that, but with like a little bit of a twist with Michael Whelan being Valentine. And if that's what happens, oh my goodness, that will be amazing. Also, one quick thing I wanted to discuss before I wrap up this video. So we know that that Alice in Wonderland movie is coming out, and I feel like this thing in the show was like direct sponsorship of the movie or something. It was like advertising. I mean, I could totally see that. But then I was rereading this, and there's a part, there's a part on page 462 where, so they're talking in Valentine. He's like, Lucian, said Valentine in a voice like silk, is attending to a fallen comrade. As for the cup and Idris, they are not far. Through the looking glass, one might say. That is a thing that he says right there. And so I read that and I'm like, okay, well, that was very smart of everyone that was a part of this show, because he said through the looking glass, and that was like the theme of the party. So that was very exciting for me when I read that the other night. And so that was just all I wanted to discuss about that, because I know it seemed like totally random, this Alice in Wonderland thing, but it really wasn't. And so that's just something I noticed. And also one quick thing I was worried about. Okay, so we know that Valentine, spoilers if you haven't read the City of Bones at least. So Valentine killed Michael Whelan and his son. And so he did that because he did that in the Fairchild home, so it could seem like Valentine and Jonathan Morgenstern had died, but in reality, Valentine just killed them, took Jonathan to Idris, raised him, and then later on, about a year later, Stephen Herondale had his son, and so Valentine was also doing experiments without anybody knowing on Stephen Herondale's wife, and then when Stephen died, she killed herself, and then him and Valentine and Hodge went and got Jace out of her belly, and then Valentine took Jace to Idris and raised him as well, so he was raising them too. And my thing was, okay, well, Jace grew up with Valentine, and it makes sense because of the whole shape-shifting room thing, because Jace didn't know that Valentine was his father in the book until he actually saw him at the end of City of Bones. But in the show it would make sense because what Valentine could have totally shapeshifted back in the day when Jace was a child in the show. So it makes sense in the separate things, and I'm just so happy that they included that shapeshifting rune, because that way it can make sense in each thing. And I feel like I'm totally rambling, but yeah, it's super confusing, the whole thing with Valentine and Jace and Jonathan and Michael and Stephen and all that, and it's so confusing. And so I'm really excited to see how they're going to do everything in the show, like if they're still going to go on with the whole like incest thing, and like just how they're going to do everything, and I'm so excited to see all that. And I feel like I'm losing my voice because I'm like screaming. But yeah, like I said, I think that is all I have to say for this episode. Please, as per usual, let me know what you thought down in the comments. What are your theories, if you have any? I feel like Michael was actually Valentine, and Valentine is tricking everybody into thinking he's Michael. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Please leave your comments down below, like I said, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!